topic on optic nerve. Okay, last class we had discussed what is papilledema, what is papillitis,
This
and what are the...
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have learned the differences between papilledema and papillitis. So now we'll go to the next topics. So optic atrophy is again an important question for you in the exam. So what do you mean by optic atrophy? As the word atrophy states, there is degeneration of the optic nerve fibers. Okay. Optic nerve is a sensory nerve which carries visual stimulus from the eye to the brain. So whenever there is degeneration of these nerves, so the patient's vision is lost. Okay. And once optic nerve degenerates, it cannot regenerate again. So it's a one-time phenomenon. So the thing is, each optic nerve has around 1.3 million axons. So if portion of the few fibers are damaged, still the patient has some amount of vision. Okay. If the entire optic nerve is damaged, then the patient will not have any vision at all. So the other structures in the eye may be normal. The cornea, the lens, everything may be normal. But if the nerve is damaged, then we cannot do anything about it. The only thing we can do is prevent further damage, but whatever is damaged cannot be regained again. So that's why it's very important that we look at optic nerve diseases carefully. Okay. So the definition is condition of the disc following degeneration of the optic nerve. So why does it occur? So the nerve fibers can be damaged starting right from the retinal ganglion cells, where the nerve fibers originate from the ganglion cells, up to the lateral geniculate body in the brain. So any damage in the pathway, along this pathway, can lead to damage to the optic nerve. So how do you classify optic atrophy? So why do we need to classify optic atrophy? So mainly it will give us an etiological diagnosis, like what is the cause for the optic atrophy. And when we look at the fundus of a patient, we can probably, based on the findings, we can try to identify why the atrophy has happened. Okay. So types are primary, secondary, consecutive, and glaucomatous optic atrophy. Okay. So what do you mean by primary optic atrophy? Primary, as the name implies, there is some disease in the central nervous system. Okay. Some other neurological problem which is affecting the entire nervous system, including the optic nerve. That is the cause for the primary optic atrophy. Then you have toxic optic neuropathy. Toxic means there are certain substances which are toxic to the retinal ganglion cells, and those can cause optic atrophy. And the third one is hereditary optic atrophy. Hereditary means it can be genetic. So there are certain conditions which can run in families, such as Leber's hereditary optic atrophy, autosomal dominant optic atrophy. So there is some genetic disorder which is causing damage to the optic nerve. So all these causes come under primary optic atrophy. Okay. So when you look at the fundus of the patient in a primary optic atrophy, how does it appear? So you can see this is usually the appearance of a patient with primary optic atrophy. In all optic atrophies, the disc will appear pale. Normally, the disc is light pink in color with a cup disc ratio of approximately 0.3:1. Whereas when you look at a disc of a patient with optic atrophy, first thing that strikes you is that the disc is appearing pale, means it's appearing whitish in color. So based on the disc appearance, you can probably try to find out the type of optic atrophy, whether it's primary, secondary, or whether it's because of glaucoma. Okay, that's why it's important to look at the fundus findings. So the disc in primary optic atrophy is usually grayish or whitish. There is stippling of the lamina cribrosa. Lamina cribrosa is where the nerve enters the sclera. That is the perforations in the sclera. That is called the lamina cribrosa. So usually in primary optic atrophy, the margins are well defined and the surrounding retina is usually normal, because the pathology here is not exactly retinal pathology. Okay. So what do you mean by secondary optic nephropathy? Secondary means it is because of some other disease of the optic nerve which has occurred, and in late stages, because of further damage to the nerve fibers, there is atrophy of the optic nerve. So what are the conditions which can cause secondary optic atrophy? So it is either papillitis, it can be papilledema, because edema of the disc. This edema of the disc, the fluid is compressing the optic nerve fibers, and gradually the nerve fibers undergo degeneration. Similarly, in papillitis and neuroretinitis, there is inflammation of the optic nerve, which results in degeneration of the optic nerve fibers. So when you see the disc of a patient with secondary optic atrophy, how do you suspect that probably the etiology is either papilledema or papillitis? So disc appears like this. It is usually dirty white in appearance, and the disc margins are usually blurred. Okay, because the patient gives history of, because previously the patient was having papilledema or papillitis. You can see the disc margins are not well defined like in a normal optic nerve. Also, here you cannot see the cup properly. You cannot demarcate the cup from the disc. There is obliteration of the optic cup, and you cannot see the lamina criprosa clearly. Okay, these are all the findings in a patient with secondary optic atrophy. So why is it important? Because when a patient presents with decreased vision and you see a pale optic disc, then you want to know what is the cause for this optic atrophy. Whether it's a retinal disease which is causing optic atrophy, whether it's some CNS disease which is causing optic atrophy, or was it papilledema or papillitis which is causing optic atrophy. So when you look at the disc, you will probably get a clue what was the cause for the optic atrophy. So the next one is consecutive optic atrophy. Consecutive, as the name implies, it is occurring secondary to some pathology, and it is occurring secondary to a retinal disease. So the retina has ganglion cells, and from the ganglion cells, the axons arise, and the axons of the ganglion cells themselves form the optic nerve fibers. So whenever these ganglion cells are damaged, so ganglion cell damage can occur in diffuse retinal diseases such as retinitis pigmentosa or retinal artery occlusion, which is causing damage to the retina. So whenever there are conditions in the retina which causes damage to the ganglion cells, naturally the axons will also degenerate. That is known as consecutive optic atrophy, consecutive to a retinal disease. So here you can see what are the fundus findings in a patient with consecutive optic atrophy. Usually you will see a waxy yellow appearance of the disc. Okay, the disc is pale yellow in appearance. The margins are not very much blurred as in papillitis, but they are not very clear. Okay. Most important thing is the attenuation of the blood vessels. Because it is a retinal disease, you will see that the blood vessels are narrowed and thin. Apart from that, if you look carefully, the retina is not normal. For example, this is a patient with retinitis pigmentosa, where you can see bony spicule pigmentation in the retinal periphery. So if you see a pale optic disc associated with some retinal problem and with attenuation of blood vessels, this is optic atrophy, which is occurring secondary to a retinal disease. Hence, it is called consecutive optic atrophy. Now, what do you mean by glaucomatous optic atrophy? So you already know glaucoma means there is damage to the, see, this is the normal optic disc. It is pink in color. Okay. This is the central cup which does not contain the nerve fibers. Only the neuroretinal ring, that is the area around the cup, contains the nerve fibers. So when the cup begins to enlarge like this, it means the nerve fibers here are getting pressed because of the raise in intraocular pressure, and they are getting damaged. That's why you can see in a glaucoma, the cup disc ratio is increased. Normally, the cup ratio is only, the cup forms only 1/3 of the disc, that is 0.3 is to 1. In a glaucomatous optic atrophy, you can see the cup is so enlarged and the neuroretinal rim is almost very little. Okay. So if you see such a fundus with a pale disc and enlargement of the optic cup, then you will know for sure that This nerve is damaged because of glaucoma. Glaucoma means there is an intraocular pressure which is causing compression on the nerve fibers, which results in nerve fiber atrophy. Okay, so this is glaucomatous optic atrophy. So as we have discussed, there are 4 different types of optic atrophy. Primary, because of CNS disease. Okay. Secondary, because of post-neuritic, either because of papilledema or papillitis. Consecutive, because of some retinal pathology such as retinitis pigmentosa. Glaucomatous, because of glaucoma. And there is actually a 4th type, ischemic. Ischemic because of decrease in blood supply to the optic nerve. That is called ischemic optic atrophy. I have not written it in the classification, but the new book ischemic optic atrophy as one of the types of optic atrophy. So what are the clinical features? So like I said, optic nerve is required for vision. So whenever there is damage to the optic nerve, the patient will present with decrease in vision, which can be unilateral or which can be bilateral depending on the underlying cause. Usually systemic conditions cause bilateral decrease in vision. Okay. And anterior segment, if you check carefully, pupillary reflexes. One important finding in optic nerve disease is the examination of the pupils is very important. If the pupils are sluggishly reacting to light and you have a relative afferent pupillary defect, this is seen when one pupil is normal and the other pupil is abnormal. It is also called Marcus gun pupil. So when you shine light in the normal pupil, it reacts well. When you shine light in the abnormal pupil, it is very sluggishly reacting to light. That is called the relative afferent pupillary defect. In late stages, what happens? The pupil, if there is total optic atrophy, means all the optic nerve fibers are damaged, then the pupil is dilated and fixed. You do not see any reaction in the pupil. Okay, so these are the clinical features. The other examination might be normal. The anterior segment is normal, and when you put dilating drops and look at the fundus, the disc will not look pink in color like in a normal. The disc will look pale and white in color. So that is diagnostic of optic atrophy. So if it is a partial optic atrophy, you can get a visual fields done. So visual fields will show central or centrocecal scotoma depending on the etiology of the optic atrophy. Okay. So basically it's a clinical diagnosis. Once you see the fundus, if you see a pale disc, it means it is optic atrophy. And depending on the fundus findings, how the disc margins are, what is the color of the disc, whether there is cupping or not, you will know what is the probable etiology which has caused optic atrophy. So what's the treatment? Those nerve fibers which are already damaged, we cannot do anything. Okay. And those which are still functioning, means the patient still has some useful vision. You should first try to find out what is the cause for damage to the optic nerve fiber and treat accordingly. Suppose there is optic neuritis, you treat the inflammation with steroids. If there is papilledema, disc edema, it means raised CNS pressure has caused this. Then try to see why the CNS pressure is raised. If it is glaucoma, then you give medicines to lower the intraocular pressure. And another important thing in optic nerve diseases is color vision is affected. Okay, usually you have to check the color vision also, and there is diminished color vision in patients with optic disease. Okay, that is also important. So that's all about optic atrophy. I think it's a question for you. So you have to define what is optic atrophy. What are the different types? Okay, types are according to etiological classification and also based on the fundus findings. If you can draw a diagram, it is good. Okay. Then mention what are the clinical features and how will you treat the patient. Okay. So next we'll go on to the next topic, which is toxic optic neuropathy. So what do you mean by toxic optic neuropathy? So as the name implies, there are certain toxins, okay, which cause damage to the retinal ganglion cell. So how do these toxins damage the retinal ganglion cells. Retinal ganglion cells are nothing but neurons, nerve cells. Okay, they have mitochondria in them. This toxic optic neuropathy is again a short, a question for you. So just mark it. It is important. So the neurons have mitochondria in them. And what happens in the mitochondria? Mitochondria is in the cell is the energy house for the cell. It produces energy. So what happens in the mitochondria is oxidative phosphorylation, which results in production of ATP. So these toxins, what they do is they prevent electron transfer during oxidative phosphorylation. So when this electron transfer is prevented, then the cell cannot produce ATP. When the cell is not able to produce ATP, the cell undergoes degeneration. So these cells which undergo degeneration in toxic optic neuropathy are the retinal ganglion cells. Okay, these cells are located in the retina. And when the ganglion cells undergo degeneration, there is degeneration of the axons of the ganglion cells, that is the nerve fibers. And these nerve fibers are nothing but the optic nerve. So these toxins affect the mitochondria, prevent oxidative phosphorylation, and result in degeneration of ganglion cells and optic nerve fibers. Okay. So this pathway is common for all the toxins which cause damage to the optic nerve. Okay. So what are all the toxins which can cause damage to the optic nerve? Sometimes vitamin deficiencies themselves, such as B12 deficiency, folic acid deficiency. So when does deficiency occur? Either whether it's because of severe malnutrition or patients suffering from some underlying diseases or chronic alcoholics. Okay, they can have vitamin deficiency. So these vitamins are important in oxidative phosphorylation. When there is deficiency of these vitamins, there occurs degeneration of the retinal ganglion cells. And another important substance which is toxic, which contains cyanide, is tobacco. Either smoking or chewing tobacco can affect the optic nerve. Okay. The other is alcohol, ethyl alcohol and methyl alcohol. Okay. Methanol is very dangerous. It causes severe, profound bilateral visual loss. In certain heavy metals poisoning, this is usually industrial, such as arsenic, lead, thallium. Okay, there are many, there's a big list of substances which can cause toxic optic neuropathy. I have not included the entire list. I'm just mentioning those which are commonly the causative substances. Okay, and there are many drugs which can affect the optic nerve. So whenever these drugs are prescribed, the patient should always have an eye examination whenever these drugs are prescribed, because once the vision is lost, sometimes it cannot be recovered completely. Okay, so the drugs which can cause a squinting, hydroxychloroquine, ethambutol, chloroquine. Ethambutol is again used in tuberculosis, ATP. Okay, even rifampicin can also affect optic nerve. Amiodarone. So there is again a very big list of drugs which can sometimes affect optic nerve. It doesn't mean every person who takes the drug gets affected by the drug. So it depends on the dosage, the duration of treatment, and in some people, pre-existing optic nerve disease will cause earlier damage to the optic nerve. So all those patients who are receiving these drugs should be monitored regularly. They have to have a eye examination, visual acuity, color vision, fundus examination, and other tests to make sure that the nerve is not getting damaged. Okay. If you feel there is damage to the nerve, these drugs have to be stopped immediately. Okay. Otherwise, it will cause irreversible damage to the optic nerve. So this is an important question for you. Tobacco amblyopia or tobacco alcohol amblyopia. Actually, the term amblyopia, which is used here, is not correct. Okay, because amblyopia means diminished vision without any organic pathology in the eye. But here there is a pathology which is happening in the eye. That is, there is degeneration of the ganglion cells, degeneration of the optic nerve fibers. So first, when this term was coined, it was called tobacco amblyopia. Now they have changed it into tobacco-induced optic neuropathy or toxic optic neuropathy. So if you get a question on toxic optic neuropathy, you will have to write all the causes for toxic optic neuropathy and the pathology for toxic optic neuropathy. Okay. Suppose you get a question only on tobacco optic neuropathy, then you should just describe the pathology. So how is tobacco causing optic neuropathy? Like I said, there is cyanide, which again, the pathology is the same. It inhibits oxidative phosphorylation in the retinal ganglion cells and causes degeneration of the ganglion cells. Okay, so you should start from the pathology. Okay, and when you look at the ganglion cells, usually there is vacuolation and missile degeneration of the retina. And most important thing, all the toxic optic neuropathies affect the macular area mainly because the macular area has the maximum number of ganglion cells in the retina. So the macular area is the most important area for vision. And when the macular area gets affected, the patient's central vision gets affected. Okay, the periphery, visual field periphery might be normal initially, and the patient mainly has central visual dysfunction in the early stages. Also, there is degeneration of the papillomacular bundle. Papillomacular bundle is nothing but nerve fibers which run from the optic nerve to the macula. That is called the papillomacular bundle, which is most vulnerable to damage by the toxins. Okay. So this is tobacco-induced optic neuropathy, also called tobacco amblyopia or tobacco alcohol amblyopia. It is usually seen in patients who are chronic smokers, chronic alcoholics, or tobacco consumed in any form can cause damage to the optic nerve. So how does the patient present? The patient usually presents with painless, gradual decrease in vision because it's a process which is happening over a period of time. There's gradual damage to the retinal ganglion cells and gradually the vision keeps dropping. Okay, like I said, because the macular area is most prone for injury because it has the maximum number of ganglion cells, central vision is the first which is affected. Okay, central vision means in your visual field, the center portion that is called the central vision. So if there is a central scotoma, means central portion is not clearly visible, the patient usually has difficulty in breathing and difficulty in performing near work. So that's how the patient will present to the ophthalmologist. It is usually bilateral because it's a systemic pathology. Means tobacco, which is affecting both eyes, but it can be asymmetrical. It can be more severe in one eye and less severe in the other eye. So what are the fundus findings? Right? It causes optic atrophy. It means you are seeing pallor of the disc. And usually the pallor initially starts in the temporal portion of the disc. That's why it's called temporal pallor of the disc. And later spreads to the entire disc. Then you call it optic atrophy when the disc becomes pale and white. And also important thing is color vision. When you check color vision, the patient's color vision will be markedly diminished. So one of you just tell me, how do you check color vision? What is the test which is used to check color vision?
Ishihara plates.
Yeah, very good. So the Ishihara isochromatic plates are used to check the color vision. So you usually check it with each eye separately. Okay, there are 38 plates in that. Normally, a patient will be able to read all the 38 plates. That is normal. If the patient is not able to read all the plates, two or three plates, if the patient misses, it's fine. But if it's not able to read more than that, then it means there is some problem which is causing decrease in color vision. Okay. So all optic nerve disorders, remember there is diminished color vision and abnormal pupillary reflexes. So here I didn't mention that those two. That's why I'm just repeating again. Decreased vision, decreased color vision, abnormal pupillary reflexes, and in fundus examination, there is pallor of the optic disc. And when you investigate, you will see, yeah, this is the fundus picture. As you can see, this is a bilateral pathology. So this portion of the disc is pink in color, which is normal. So you would expect this portion also to be pink, but this is pale and white in color. So you call it a pallor of the disc. And you can see this is mostly on the temporal. Temporal means outwards. Nasal means towards the nose. So you see bilateral temporal pallor of the disc. In late stages, what happens? The entire disc becomes pale. Okay. And when you do a visual field examination, this is a Humphrey visual field where you can see this is the area which is actually occupied by the optic disc that is known as the blind spot. Okay. So in optic nerve diseases, what happens is either there is enlargement of the blind spot, but what you see typically in tobacco amblyopia is, or tobacco optic neuropathy, is a centrocecal scotoma. Means there is a black area, which is the scotomatous area, which extends from the center point, that is the point of fixation, up to the optic disc. That is called this is known as the centrocecal scotoma. So you can draw this diagram. You can draw this fundus picture. You can just draw the disc, put a yellow color on the temporal portion, okay, representing pallor of the optic disc. You can draw this diagram. Okay, so that's how you diagnose. And history is, of course, very important. You ask the patient for any history of smoking, alcohol, okay, any nutritional deficiencies and all that. Okay, so based on that, it's a clinical diagnosis actually. So once you take the history, examine the patient and see the fundus, you will know that it is probably a toxic tobacco amblyopia or tobacco-induced optic neuropathy. So what's the treatment? Obviously, the patient has to stop tobacco, stop alcohol, okay? And usually these chronic smokers and chronic alcoholics have vitamin deficiency. So you give hydroxycobalamin injections, usually 1,000 micrograms over a period of weeks, okay? I have not mentioned the dose here. So in order so that it will aid in their recovery, the vitamin B12 what you are giving. In early stages, the recovery is good, means the pallor is just starting, appearing, means only few nerve fibers are damaged. Okay, the patient, if they follow the treatment, then the recovery is good. But in late stages, the pallor has set in, okay, then the prognosis is not that good. Patient will not recover whatever vision is lost already. Okay. So that's all about tobacco-induced optic neuropathy. So when you get a question like this, tobacco amblyopia or tobacco optic neuropathy, first you have to mention etiology, pathogenesis, that is oxidative phosphorylation and all that, and then clinical features. So what does the patient present with? What are the symptoms? Vision, color vision, okay, and fundus findings. And then what are the investigations which you do? So usually you do a visual field examination, and the type of scotoma which you see is a centrocecal scotoma. Okay, and then what are these are the investigations, and actually if you want you can measure vitamin B12 level, but it's not mandatory. Okay, and then what is the treatment for the optic neuropathy? Okay. So those two are the important questions in this in this today's class. So the one is optic atrophy, the other is tobacco optic neuropathy. The other two important questions in optic nerve are the differences between papilledema and papillitis. That's an important question for you. Okay. So we'll just cover what is anterior ischemic optic neuropathy, because this is a common condition which we see in the clinic. Usually it is seen in elderly patients. So what happens in anterior ischemic optic neuropathy? As you can see in the term itself, you get the pathology, ischemia of the optic nerve. Ischemia means the blood supply to the optic nerve is affected. So the blood vessels which supply the optic nerve are the posterior ciliary arteries. Okay. Whenever these blood vessels are either blocked or inflamed, then the optic nerve is not getting enough blood supply. Whenever it's not getting enough blood supply, then the optic nerve undergoes ischemia and then degeneration. So that will affect the vision of the patient. So why does the blood supply go down? So there are two causes. It can be arteritic or non-arteritic. Arteritic, it is a systemic condition where there is giant cell arteritis, which can affect medium-sized arteries in the body, so it affects the ciliary arteries also. Okay, non-arteritic means usually patients with high blood pressure, okay, high cholesterol levels, high sugars. There is intimal thickening of the blood vessels, which results in decreased blood supply. Okay, so you just remember, just in case this question is asked, like you can see in the name itself, there is ischemia of the optic nerve because of diminished blood supply. So in ischemic optic neuropathy, also there is blurring of the disc margins, okay, which is usually segmental, okay, and there is sudden decrease in vision, and when you do a visual field, there is what is known as an altitudinal field defect in ischemic optic neuropathy, okay. So they may not ask this for your exam, but sometimes when you have entrance exams for MCQs, so this is a question which they might ask. So that's why I'm covering this for you. Okay. So again, just for completion's sake, optic nerve can be affected by many disorders. So when a patient has thyroid ophthalmopathy causes engorgement of the extraocular muscles, okay, engorgement of the orbital fat, okay. So all these, what they can do is they can compress the optic nerve. Okay, there is space in the optic. There's a little space for the optic nerve, and this optic nerve can get compressed by the enlarged extraocular muscles and tissues in the orbit, resulting in what is known as thyroid. Sorry. Resulting in what is known as thyroid-related optic neuropathy. And then you have radiation optic neuropathy. So there are certain cancers of head and neck which require radiation. So nowadays, because of advances in radiotherapy, usually you try to protect the optic nerve and other structures as much as possible. But very rarely, if the lesion is very close to the optic nerve, then optic nerve can get secondarily damaged because of the radiation. That is called radiation optic neuropathy. And another important thing which we often see is traumatic optic neuropathy, also called TRON. So what happens in traumatic optic neuropathy is whenever the patient has sustained a road traffic accident or a blunt trauma, either there is direct damage to the optic nerve or there is fracture of the bones around the optic nerve which press on the optic nerve, or there is damage to the blood supply of the optic nerve which results in finally optic atrophy. That is called. So these are some of the other conditions which can cause damage to the optic nerve. So I think that's all for today. There are some congenital conditions like coloboma of the optic nerve. So I have not mentioned all this. If you want, you can read up in the book. Usually they are not asked in a regular examination. But like I said, for entrance exam sometimes such questions might be asked. So if you can read up on your own. If you have any doubts, you can ask us in the department or whenever in the next class. So what is important for the exam? For you, for undergraduate exam, that those topics are all covered completely. So any doubts till now? So main thing is don't get confused between papilledema, optic neuritis, optic atrophy, and toxic optic neuropathy. So sometimes all of them sound so similar. So you might get confused, but each entity is different. The pathology is different for each. Papilledema is rise in intracranial pressure. Optic neuritis is inflammation of the optic nerve. Toxic optic neuropathy is there are certain toxins which are causing damage to the ganglion cells, resulting in the degeneration of the optic nerve fibers. And optic atrophy is the end stage of all the optic nerve diseases. So all the optic neuropathies finally result in optic atrophy, means complete damage to the optic nerve. Okay, and optic atrophy you classify based on the etiology which has caused this optic atrophy. So don't get confused. All of them, if you read, just read in the book, you will get confused. So always when a class is done, go back, read it on the same day so that you will remember it. And you should remember maybe 5 or 6 key points for each topic so that you don't get confused. Okay? Any doubts?